environment is the biggest concern of 21st century. I can tell you about my childhood days. I used to stay in Southern Avenue, and at that point of time we didn't have that Ravindra Stadium. It was open ground. It was a joint family. We were about 12 children, and all of us used to sleep on a veranda. And वो खाट बोलते हैं ना, that उसको लगा के there was no fan at that time in, and still we had to wear chaddars. It was so breezy. If in the month of April, the day there used to be unbearable heat, the same day in the evening there used to be rain in Calcutta. I remember my childhood visit to till late 70s to Bangalore, that the houses in Bangalore didn't have a fan. Forget about air conditioners. You have seen I was in Delhi last week. Highest ever temperature in Delhi crossed over 51 degrees. You get cyclones and a regular feature because the sea gets warm, and that's the reason they say that you get cyclone. I mean, if you really look at it today, I think it is a concern not only for as an individual but also for the entire industry, because who are the biggest polluter? We as an individuals are also the polluter because we are using all electricity and things like that. We still find that people on the roadside are using chulhas. But I can tell you one thing, sir, that being on the board of various companies, I can tell you that there is a total change of mindset now. Only day before yesterday, I got a call from one of the CEO of a company, and he said, I want your approval for an investment of 300 crores because we want to put up solar unit, and we forgot to mention that, state that in the last board meeting. You said you have my approval. All the companies where I am now, we are having a solar power and or a wind power plant. There are particular industries where now we have the power to the extent of 80% of the power is through green energy. And everybody is changing because people are finding that ultimately it is good for, not only good for the economy, good for the environment, good for human being, and good for the survival of the world. We can see the way things are in the Nordic island, that glaciers are melting. You can see the pollution. We are basically inhaling smoke. Basically, and this is all pollution. So I think the issue is it is a very burning event. It's a matter of great concern and a great crisis. And I think in a World Environment Day, I must congratulate Renuka ji that you have organized this function, because world over this is being celebrated today. So with these words, I would like you to introduce our speaker for you. Thank you.
Mr. Mittal, Mr. Khaitan, members of the committee, and Bharat Chamber Ladies Forum guests and friends. Namaste, good evening, and a very warm welcome to our event today. It has been a tradition of the Ladies Forum to celebrate World Environment Day, and I wish to continue to carry forward this tradition. I consider it to be a pleasure and privilege to introduce our chief guest speaker, Mr. Ajay Mittal, today. Mr. Ajay Mittal is a green crusader, an environmentalist with a diverse portfolio involving climate change programs, restoration projects, and advocacy efforts. With the motto, improving lives of our people and the health of our planet, Mr. Mittal is deeply committed to bringing a positive change in protecting the environment from the adverse impacts of climate change by human actions. Mr. Ajay Mittal has earlier served as the Director of Climate Change Programs at the Earth Day organization, and during his tenure, he spearheaded the Canopy project, overseeing the successful restoration of 2 million mangrove saplings a testament to his dedication to conservation. With a passion in advocating reduction of fossil fuels, Mr. Ajay Mittal has collaborated with Professor Chetam Solanki, who is also known as the Solar Man of India. As a stakeholder council member of the World Economic Forum's initiative in India, Mr. Mittal actively contributes to efforts in reforestation and conservation. He has co-founded the Each One Plant One initiative to improve the green foliage in the city. His dedication and relentless pursuit of environmental causes has been recognized by the North American Association for Environmental Education, naming him as one of the EE 30 under 30 leaders. Besides, he has also received the title of the Water Hero from the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, for his pioneering work in water conservation. Friends, protecting and nurturing the environment is pivotal to build a resilient and sustainable future, and each and every one of us has a role to play in this endeavor. Whether it's through reducing our carbon footprint, conserving resources, supporting sustainable projects and practices, or advocating for policy change, our individual actions can collectively make a profound difference. But beyond individual actions, we must also come together as communities, as nations, and as a global society to drive systematic change. We must prioritize environmental conservation and restoration in our policies, our investments, and our everyday decision making. I'm looking forward to today's talk by Mr. Ajay Mittal to learn more about the short-term and long-term impact of climate change and how we can contribute in mitigating ecological degradation. I would now request Mr. Ajay Mittal to commence his talk this afternoon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Ajay.
Thank you, Ketanji. Thank you, Renika ma'am, for inviting me, having me here. Before I start my presentation, I'll just help. So, Ketanji started with the story. I'll also just start a little bit of my background as to how I got into this field of environment. So, when I share my name, always ask some, I say I'm Ajay. So, my full name kya hai? Bola Ajay Mittal. So, are you a Marwadi? Yes, said yes, I am a Marwadi. So, how come you are doing something with environment and climate change and all of this thing? You must be doing business. He said, yeah, I come from a business family, but in 2019, on this particular day, I had an opportunity to attend a forum in Brisbane where Professor Al Gore was speaking. And there was a presentation that he made on climate change. And that is the first time I understood how significant this crisis is. And as a young person, I thought that there could not be anything more meaningful and more relevant for the rest of my life than working on climate change. And that moment I decided whatever I was doing as a business and everything, I decided I'll quit, and going back to my country, I'll start working full time on climate change. That's because there's nothing more significant to this thing. So, and let me tell you, this thing is that what I understood about climate change is that what we talk about sometimes about nature, all of these things, we sometimes make it an abstract. If nature is something which is outside of us, it's not. We are part of nature. If we just hold our breath for more than a minute, some of us will die here. That's how significant it is, every breath. And it's basic science. We know that every breath that we exchange is coming from the trees outside. So every breath is an exchange with nature. It's a transaction with the trees outside. And what are we doing? We are cutting down trees. We are destroying forests. We will not live without air for more than a minute. We cannot live by water for a few days. And we cannot live by food more than a few weeks. And all these three things are extremely polluted and extremely toxic to us. The food that we are eating is toxic to us. The water that we are using is extremely polluted. And the air that we are breathing is extremely polluted. So the basic necessities of our life and what our survival depends on, we have destroyed it. There are data which suggest that even before a child is born in this thing, they are being exposed to toxic levels of pollutants as much as smoking hundreds of cigarettes on a daily basis. They have found plastics in breast milk samples of mothers. They have found plastics in blood samples. They have found plastics in arteries of human people. They're saying it's clogging our arteries and causing heart attacks now. That's how much of plastic it is there in all of us right now. So my presentation will not just talk about the problems, because somehow we understand this thing, but maybe we don't understand the relation of climate change as much, the science behind climate change, and how all of us can be part of the solution. So in the little time that we'll spend together, I will try to emphasize my understanding of climate change and how significant it is and how we can all be part of a solution. I think it is still solvable, and there is a lot of positive part that is happening in terms of the fight of climate change, and we have not lost this game. The doomsday is not there. We have an opportunity. So I will also talk about that part. I'll just start my presentation. Yeah, I think when we break the flow, we lose audience. So I'll just bring you back with me here. So I'll start with this beautiful picture. This is actually the first picture that once, as humanity, we saw Earth from an outside view, and we realized that all of us are connected as humanity, and everything that happens, the air, the water, and everything that we share is common to us. So why this is important to understand is that the air, that when we pollute these things, we don't have boundaries. We may have divided ourselves into countries, cities, and all other kind of fictional identities, but the earth that we share is common to us. My presentation will talk about these three things, which is must we change, can we change, and will we change. क्या हमें ज़रूरत है चेंज करने की? ऐसा कुछ है क्लाइमेट चेंज जो बहुत ही खतरनाक है, उसमें हमें चेंज करना चाहिए? और क्या ये इतना आगे बढ़ गया कि अब हम चेंज कर भी नहीं सकते, या हम अभी भी टाइम है? पर सबसे बड़ा सवाल ये है कि हम चेंज करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे अपने आप को. सो सबसे पहले हम क्लाइमेट चेंज का जो बेसिक है ना, जो हमें सबको स्कूल में पढ़ाया गया है, दैट द साइंस ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज इज दैट वेरी वेरी सिंपल. द सन रेज आर फॉलिंग ऑन अर्थ्स एटमॉस्फेयर, ऑन अर्थ सर्फेस, and most of it is radiated back this thing. That is how it works. Now, so this radiation is happening, it's a natural process, and but there is this CO2 present, which we understand, the layer of atmosphere, the carbon dioxide, which absorbs some of this heat. Now this is very important, otherwise earth will be so cool, so cold that there will be no life on this planet. We know this, but what have we done is we have been spewing approximately 160 million tons of man-made warming pollution into this thin layer of atmosphere every 20 hours, as it was our open sphere. In my introduction, someone mentioned about Professor Chetan Singh Solanki. So I moved with him. He is on a bus journey which he is doing for 11 years. उन्होंने अपने घर छोड़ दिया है 11 साल के लिए. He was a IIT Bombay professor, and he said for the next 11 years I am going to crisscross across the country and talk about climate change, raise awareness, and ask people how they can shift towards 100% renewable energy. And he tells me most of the time during his session is that ये जो atmosphere है, ये हमारे पिताजी की प्रॉपर्टी है, जो हम इसमें without any concern we are keep popping up pollution into this atmosphere. So the CO2 that we expel into the atmosphere, it stays for approximately 350 years. So आज हम यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, lights are on, ACs are on, all of these things, activities are required. But any activity that we do consumes energy, and this energy, abhi bhi 80% of the energy produced in India is produced from coal. And when we use 1 unit of energy, approximately 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide is released in the atmosphere. And this atmosphere this will sit for 350 years, and this will affect us. So what we are doing as an activity is going to have its impact for the next 350 years. And when we look up in the sky, we may not realize that how thin the layer of atmosphere is. It is as thin as this, and this is where all this pollution is being dumped. What is this contributing to? All of the activities that we do, some of the things that we talked about. Everything that we use as energy is coming from coal plants, mostly 80% of it. We travel, we use vehicles, our agricultural, industrial process, all of these consume energy, and this energy is coming from fossil fuel. And this fossil fuel has a very, very basic thing, which is when you burn it in presence of oxygen, it releases carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide sits for 350 years, causing global warming. So this story started since the Industrial Revolution. If you see this graph around, as the Industrial Revolution progressed, the fossil fuel contribution and the fossil fuel consumption started increasing, and so this is the CO2 concentration. So this energy trapped by man-made global warming, if we put it into a perspective as to what it means, it is like 750,000 atomic bombs being exploding every day. 750,000 bombs being explosion is the same amount of energy that is being trapped because of global warming. So if you relate to this slide from the previous slide, the Industrial Revolution and this, you will see the temperature of the earth has been, average temperature of the planet has been increasing every year since the Industrial Revolution, because our consumption is growing, the way we produce energy is still fossil fuel, and our consumptions are growing, so the energy consumption is growing and the CO2 emissions are increasing. So much discussion, so much international forums have been, so much negotiations have happened, but this graph is still going up. As a result of this, now we have reached a point where in last 10 years, the most hottest days that have been recorded has been all in the last 10 years. And this year has been recorded on Earth's, this thing as the hottest year so far. This month was recorded as the hottest ever month. And there has been days which has been recorded as the hottest ever day recorded in human history. There has been some news, we may have all followed, that Delhi hit a new record of 52 degrees. 52 degrees. Now, human body, if you look at human body's capacity to manage temperature is between about 26 degrees to 40 degrees, 39 degrees. Beyond that, human body cannot function the way it should function, and it will collapse. So as a result of that, a lot of people died because of heat strokes. A lot of people got sick because of heat stroke, and people's efficiency for work cannot be the same because our bodies cannot function in certain conditions at the way it should be. So this was 56 heat related deaths were recorded, and 25,000 heat strokes were reported in India just between March and May. And mind you, we have not yet reached the peak of our summers, and this is the scenario right now. You may have read in the news, this girl and 50 other such students had to be rushed in hospital in Bihar as they all started falling sick because of the heat wave conditions. And most of them collapsed, and there were no ambulances available. They were taken on those bikes and thelas and all of those things. They have to be rushed in hospitals. So we are a tropical country, and data suggests that many of the tropics, home to 3 billion people, will become conditions where human life cannot exist if the temperature crosses over 1.5 degrees C. And any guesses what is the already temperature rise which has happened. We have already crossed close to 1.24, 1.3 degrees in this thing. And this 1.5 degrees is like the Lakshman Rekha. They say the 1.5 2 degrees 3 is the threshold. So what is this? If we clearly understand, say human body, when it is 97 degrees, we then say that we have fever. But 2 degrees up, we say human body has fever, right? And जब हमें बुखार होता है तो क्या होता है? We cannot function the same way that we would function. Our body starts to deteriorate. We cannot function. Our normal activities will not happen like that. So it is not wrong to say that the planet has got fever, right? Because it's already 2.4 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than it should be. And if it further crosses 1.5 degrees C, scientists say that a irreversible process will start. उसके बाद हम जब साधु भी बन जाए, हम और सारा एक्टिविटीज छोड़ दे, तो भी हम इस प्लैनेट को नहीं बचा सकते. हम ह्यूमन लाइफ को ऑन दिस प्लैनेट नहीं बचा सकते अगर वी क्रॉस दैट 1.5 डिग्री सीज. एंड एज वी सिट राइट नाउ हियर, दे हैव सम साइंटिस्ट हु डिड अ कैलकुलेशन कि आज हम कितना CO2 एमिशन कर रहे हैं और इसके हिसाब से हमारे पास कितना CO2 बजट है जिसमें वी विल क्रॉस दिस 1.5 डिग्री सीज. Any guesses on how much time we have left? 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, 100 years? Any guesses? Any guesses? Absolutely. It's just 5 years and some 100 days that is there before we cross this 1.5 degree C mark. After that, if we cross that 2 degree C mark, no matter what we do, we cannot have life existing on this planet. And in this process, it will not be like one day there will be a big mishap and all of us will die. That will be an easy death, I think. But that is not going to happen. So, as Professor Langi says, is that ये पृथ्वी हमें कैसे मारेगी पता है? हिंदी मूवी में जैसे विलन मारता है ना तड़पा तड़पा के. So, ये हमें तड़पा तड़पा के मारेगी. So that is how it is happening, and we can see that. No, we can see how heat waves, cyclones, and all of these conditions on a summer day. There is actually a medical warning. Rajasthan state government, Rajasthan state, the court issued an order where they have said that climate crisis is so significant and the heat waves are so significant, it should be declared as an emergency. This is things that we as an activist would say that government should declare climate emergency, they should declare a heat wave emergency, they should launch a heat action plan. But this is what courts are saying right now. So this is the topic, if you see that, and this is the inhabitable zone. And if you see our country, India, almost the entire part of our country will be an inhabitable zone. Right now, large parts of India is undergoing desertification, and there will be no food for us, there will be no water for us, and the temperature conditions will be such that we cannot live in our own country if this continues. So all of the heat that is increasing, where is it trapped? It is all trapped in our oceans. And what happens because of that is that when the heat is trapped into the ocean, the air above the oceans starts to heat. And we, as a strategic location, we are so close to the Bay of Bengal. The temperature in the Bay of Bengal side and the Arabian side, the Bay of Bengal side, the temperature is increasing 20% faster than on Arabian side. India's average temperature has increased by 1 degree Celsius, and on the Bay of Bengal side, it has increased by 1.2 degrees Celsius. And what is happening because of this, that more tropical cyclones, the both intensity and frequency of it is increasing. Because the air is warmer, it creates a more conducive environment for formation of these tropical cyclones. And we have seen Amphan and recently Remal and all of these things happening, right? So half of this increase in the heat continuous has occurred in less than 20 years. All of this, see, if you look at this graph, that in last 20 years, half of this heating has happened. So it also impacts the hydrological cycle, is what we were discussing. So when this air is warmer, it carries more precipitation, it carries more water,
And that's why when we see the rain patterns right now, the rain is not spread over months. When it rains, it just pours. Recently, 2 days ago on Sunday in Bangalore, the amount of rain that happened was exactly what it should happen in the entire month of June. But it rained in just one day, the same amount of rain which should have happened all over the June months. And for almost 3 months, there was no rain in Bangalore. Mr. Khaitan was talking about the conditions in Bangalore. I was there in Bangalore a few weeks ago, and I was surprised because I've heard so much about Bangalore's weather should be such like that at this thing. It is difficult to walk. It is difficult to walk during the summer time, during the peak hours, like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It's difficult to walk, forget the comfortable environment. So this hydrogeological cycle is spinning out of balance and result of climate change and human activities. That's what World Meteorological Organization is saying. And as temperatures are increasing, this is what is happening. The cyclones that we are talking about, the conditions, if you see closely at what is happening in the Bay of Bengal side, you will see the activity that is happening, the cyclonic activity that is increasing significantly, and this will make Kolkata as one of the most vulnerable cities. And we'll come to that in the later in the presentation, how Kolkata is one of the most vulnerable cities because of climate change. So we discussed how downpours are getting bigger. This is this thing from New York City, where two weather systems merged and produced heavier than expected rains in New York City. And when we imagine cities like New York, they are the most developed cities, but look at the condition. Look at the condition how it is right now. This is another incident which was in Gardiner, where just up to 6 inches of rain, and there was a lot of people who killed, and this thing, a lot of population, a lot of people die, but also a lot of our property gets destroyed because of these natural activities. So extreme weather costs us a lot of money. Sorry. So this is what is an estimated this thing. The global economy, 3.28 trillion in last decade has been lost, and increased almost 600 billion over the previous 10 years. That is the amount of loss that has happened to the global economy because of these kind of weather disasters, the extreme weather events. So this is what we were talking about. This ocean heat which is trapped is just causing all of this moisture to rise, and when the air is it is carrying more water than usual, and that's why it is not just raining, but it is pouring. So this is how the intensity of both rainfall and droughts have increased in the past decade specifically. At the same time, because of rainfall, but also because of the dry weather, there are extreme forest fires. There was an incident in Canada where the entire city has to be evacuated overnight because of forest fires. There was so much smoke that they had to urgently they have to evacuate the entire town. This is how Arctic has been recording record temperatures, and the ice is melting 4 times faster. Now, where will all the ice melt go? This will all melt into our rivers and go into the oceans, and the sea level will rise. And the sea level rise, so this is what 50 degrees look like, and this is what temperatures which have been recorded in Greenland. This is what is being recorded in India right now also. Now look at this slide. The first city, if you think in the risk of climate change in terms of population, is Kolkata. Kolkata is put at the highest risk globally because of sea level rise. So there are scientists which suggest that by 2070, large parts of Kolkata will be submerged underwater if these conditions continue. This is another slide where in terms of the asset risk, they mapped which are the top cities which are at risk, and Kolkata is on number 4 in terms of sea level rise. It is not just an crisis for our industries, for our population, but it is also an health crisis. And scientists say that because we are exploring nature, destroying nature so much, that there are 5 new infectious diseases which are emerging on an average every year. If we see the recent pandemic which was there, it was also a zoonotic in nature, and zoonotic means that this infections are coming from animals to us, and as human beings continue to invade nature, more such threats are going to appear to us. This is not just the infectious disease, but tropical disease has also been on rise. If we talk about tropical diseases like dengue, if you recall a few years ago, dengue fever will have a very short cycle. Now dengue crisis happening all around the year in cities like Kolkata. It is because the temperature conditions make it more conducive for these kind of vector-borne diseases to grow in these conditions. So at the same time, once weather in disaster hits us, there are more prone of water borne diseases which outbreak take place, and it causes a lot of health crisis among different parts of India and the world. So at the same time, the air is polluted, and they say that approximately 8.7 million people are killed. So this is one of the reasons when I started the Kolkata Clean Air campaign. I read a statistic which said that air pollution kills more people than AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. The amount of people that get killed because of air pollution is more than any of these major diseases. So, and this climate crisis is also causing extinction to our biodiversity. They're saying that 50% of all land-based species that exist will not be there at the end of this species. So, one out of every two species that exist will be gone by the end of 2100 if we continue on this path, which is continued emission consumption and continuous rise in global warming. So this is kind of a summary of the cost of carbon. It is not just that environment is some abstract, kind of an abstract which doesn't impact our life. It is impacting our political instability because there are countries which are going into war, which are reasons of climate change because they are having conflicts because of people not having enough food to eat, people crossing borders because of opportunities, droughts, ocean acidification. There are climate refugees. There are countries which are buying land to shift and migrate their population because their country will not exist in coming few years because they will be completely submerged underwater. At the same time, it is causing a lot of development work which has happened in the last 20-30 years. The parameters that we have improved on development parameters, all of this will be washed away if we continue on this path of carbon. So carbon global, it is the number one threat to the global economy, and so there is no doubt that we must change. There is a significant global crisis and there is an opportunity for us to change, but can we change? So we have solutions at hand, and the IEA determined that we have all the technology and everything exists for us to cut emissions by 50% by 2030. So that all of those resources and everything exists as of now for us to reduce our emissions by 50%. This is how the temperatures have been improving, and the scientists say that once the world starts to reduce their net emissions and we reach net zero emissions within 3 to 5 years, the temperatures will start to manage, and we will be able to halt the climate crisis. We will be able to mitigate the climate crisis, and we may be able to stop that disaster which is going to hit us if we cross the 1.5 degree 2 degree C mark. So if we halted our net zero emissions by half, it would have taken out of atmosphere and absorbed upper ocean trends within about 30 years. So this is what we can still do. We can still save humanity. I don't say save nature because I think nature will thrive without human beings. So if we just have to save humanity, it is an existential crisis, and for that there is no other way but we have to cut down emissions. And what is happening is also very positive. So in terms of green energy, the projections from in 2000 was that the worldwide wind capacity will reach 30 gigawatts by 2010. But see what we have achieved. The reality is that globally wind, this the figures that we reached was 34x the goal that we had set for that. So in reality, there's a lot of work which is happening in terms of green energy. There's a lot of work which is happening in terms of renewables, which is there. So, and the solutions, when we talk about globally, just wind energy has enough capacity to provide 40 times the electrical consumption that we have today. So the whole world can just run on wind energy. If we accelerate the pace of adoption of renewables, we have the capacity to run the entire planet on just wind energy. Similarly, for solar, the 2002, the projection was that we will reach grow 1 gigawatt per year by 2010. But see what we have achieved. The reality is that the goal was exceeded by 17x. And in 2023, this has been increased by 445x. So this is a lot of work that is happening, and we must commend the efforts by India in terms of this progress, because India has been leading this charge in terms of adoption of solar. With the Indian Solar Alliance, they have not just been influencing what is happening in India, but they have been globally impacting on this thing. In India, the globally, the solar prices are cheapest. We have recorded and produced solar energy at a cost lower than what we produce from out of fossil fuels. So it is not that I personally think India is not just doing it for its concern for environment, but it is also doing it because it makes sense for us. A lot of the energy that we consume is imported. We are not a energy independent country, and to become an energy independent country, we need to move towards solar. We are being blessed with so much of solar energy across the country, and this is a very big opportunity for us to become energy independent, cut down on our fiscal deficit. It is a economic game also. It is going to benefit our country not just in terms of environment, but in terms of economy also, if we accelerate our adoption of solar energy. And the government of India has launched a beautiful initiative for us to adopt solar energy, where close to 300 units of electricity can be produced for free for anyone who has a little bit of solar rooftop space available. They can apply through a portal. There is a simple application that you can apply through a government portal, and this can be done. Although we live in a state where in West Bengal where this is not possible, because the government of West Bengal doesn't allow, unfortunately, net metering. There are certain policies which restrict the adoption of solar in this part of the world, part of the country. So this is something which we should all advocate it, and it's my request that Bharat Chamber of Commerce also takes up this as an advocacy and writes so that we can also accelerate the adoption of solar energy in West Bengal and Kolkata. I don't know. I think there is some, there are lobbies, of course, which want fossil fuels to exist, and that is the only this thing. But I think other parts of the country, there is more competition in terms of power. There is, in Bengal, there is a monopoly for certain companies, and I think that is one of the reasons which I can think of is there. So I think, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So we'll come to this thing. So solar energy alone. So 1 घंटे में जितना हमें solar energy मिलता है, that is enough to meet the requirements of energy of the entire world for an entire year. Can you imagine how much of potential that we have? And let me just have a show of hands. How many of us here use solar energy? Yes, one man. Okay, 2%. बाकी आप लोग सब खाना खाते हैं? सोलर एनर्जी तब हम तभी यूज करते हैं जब एक सोलर पैनल लगाया, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कन्वर्ट किया, तब नहीं. आवर लाइफ डिपेंड्स ऑन सोलर एनर्जी. द फूड दैट वी प्रोड्यूस इज आउट ऑफ सोलर एनर्जी. The water that is we are drinking is because of solar energy. The air is moving because of solar energy. Do you know that? The oxygen that we are having is because of solar energy. So our whole entire life depends on solar energy. So हमारा जो जीवन का अस्तित्व है वो सोलर है. And if we move back to the source of our existence, we will solve this climate crisis. So that is the point. We have moved away from our source. That is the problem that we have right now. So this is glad that हमें सबको मरने के पहले पता चल गया कि हम सब सोलर एनर्जी यूज करते थे. So globally, cumulative storage capacity, so a lot of discussion happens when we talk about solar ki हाँ solar produce तो करेंगे पर इसको कैसे store करेंगे, storage capacity is not increased in this thing. This is how significantly the storage capacity is increasing. There was a very strong incident that happened where someone challenged Elon Musk to build the world's largest battery in Australia. And you must read this case study about how ingeniously what human capacity and human ability is to do. When we were in the middle of a pandemic, in a record time, we built an COVID vaccine, and that helped us come out of this pandemic. So human capacity exists to solve these problems. We just have to look these things, and this is also a great economic opportunity. Right now, if you look at newspapers, look at everything, 50% of the coverage is related to climate change. It is a very big opportunity. It is so like digital revolution thana, I think sustainability is the new revolution. And it is a very big opportunity for us to build businesses, to solve climate crisis, to adopt our lifestyles, alter our lifestyles, and become more healthy and live more happy lives if we just adopt a certain lifestyle. So investments are growing, and they say that if we move towards renewable, we can create three times more jobs than what fossil fuel creates. So it will not take away jobs. On the other hand, it will create more jobs. So it is a definitely good economic opportunity to look at renewables for the world. So the biggest part is that can we change? Definitely we can. The solutions exist, and if we start adopting those solutions in a matter of next 6 years, if we do what we are supposed to do, we will be able to halt this global temperature rise, and we will be able to prevent humanity from non-existing. So there's a big joke which happened in the UN forum where there was a dinosaur which was introduced. I don't know if you have seen that video. And when dinosaur moves up to humanity and said that we had reasons for extinction. You don't have. You're causing your own extinction. So how stupid you are as humanity to cause your own extinction. And that is what we are doing. If you remember the story which is there where there is a man cutting the axe sitting on the branch, right? It's a story we all read. We are doing the same thing. We are destroying the same home that we live in, the planet that we live in, and we are destroying our own home, this thing. So there's if we go to a forest and if we see the scenario, if there's a lion or a tiger which is hungry, what will it do? It will feed on one deer, right? And once it is satiated, it will relax for some time. Again, when the hunger pangs come in, it will probably go for another kill. Imagine a human being in the same forest area. What will it do? It will kill one, then kill another 5, make FD of 2, and make mutual funds of 2, right? That is how human greed works. And that problem is of human greed. And imagine the best kind of wealth that you can live for the future generation is just enough air to breathe, clean air to breathe, enough food to eat, and the water to drink. What will humanity do with the money and all of those bank balance and all of those things if there's no air, no water, and the temperature rises like this? You cannot go out. Doesn't matter what kind of home do you live in, doesn't matter what kind of car that you ride. If there is no way that you can go out on the streets, you cannot have good food, you cannot drink water, you cannot breathe fresh air. All of this makes no sense. And if you are sick, how can you enjoy life? And this is what humanity has led to. So this is a few more slides to end this thing. Will be change? That is up to us. It is up to us to decide that we create enough will to fight this climate crisis, and what is required to do. If we do that, we will exist. Otherwise, जैसे प्रोफेसर सोलंकी कहते हैं, तड़पा तड़पा के नेचर हमें मारेगी. This stops working. So will we change is really the question, and we have the solutions to exist, and all of us can contribute to this thing because all of us consume energy, all of us in our daily activities through result of that contribute to the climate crisis. And a lot of people ask, like, what are some of the solutions that you can do? See, if you Google, you will find 500 solutions what you can do. But I think personally, अगर climate crisis को solve करना है तो हमें और कुछ नया नहीं करना है, but daily हम जो करते हैं उसे और कम करना है. because we are doing enough damage to the planet. And if we mindfully just sit and look at our own days, entire day, how we spend our day, and if we look at this, we'll find so many activities that are mindless in nature. It is not required. And if you start eliminating a few activities on a daily basis, you will be contributing more to the planet and you will be happier, I bet you. That is what I think. Sustainability can make us live healthier lives, happier lives, and it can help us simplify our lives. Lot of us activities that we do is because of the mindless consumption. And Government of India, our Prime Minister Modi has launched an initiative called Mission Life, which is lifestyle for environment. And if we just move back to some of the practices which we had earlier, rather than aping the West and adopting more Western ways of living, India is having the ways of sustainable living, and we can show the world how we can solve this climate crisis by adopting a better lifestyle. So I think because the presentation stop, I will also stop here for any questions. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Thank you so much.
Sir, before a question is asked from the chamber's point of view, I would like to take up this issue with the state government because this is a very important issue. As you said that the Calcutta is the most vulnerable as far as the climate change is concerned, the heat part is concerned. I really don't know how to say that, because in the presentation you gave a graph that this is the most vulnerable state, maybe because it is on the Bay of Bengal and this is happening. If I can have a 7-8 one even half page note on that from you, and then because every state in the country is allowing solar energy. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. So is this solar energy? I was not aware that were you aware that the solar? We were not aware. In the chamber, I think none of us was aware that the solar energy is not permitted in West Bengal.
No, it's not like it's permitted. The policies and the see, there has to be an ease of doing things.
Yes.
So right now, if you are in some other states and everything, the policies and the landscape is so easy for anyone to move to solar. It is not here like that. If you apply for something for a solar net metering, you will never get it for some reason. You will not get it. So
is it for the industry or for the residential?
It is for residential, is what I'm talking.
So you can't put
You can. The can is not the problem. The problem is it will not happen. And how much of time will you this thing to this one activity? It may take you months to just get some solar installation and this thing. There are companies which are there to provide solution, but this net metering thing will take forever for you.
Yes.
In terms of price also, solar energy is higher than the other.
Doesn't matter.
But what is happening is the central government is providing subsidy to the industries for setting up solar energy, and the other state governments are giving some complementary subsidies which the government of West Bengal has not been giving.
I have one
that is
follow-up
why-
question to this.
Yes.
If there is an emergency, if someone is having a heart attack, will you look for a vehicle which is cheaper, or will you look for a vehicle which is available?
No,
Right now, the conditions is that we are in a state of emergency, and if you look at this debate of whether solar is cheaper or not, we have crossed that. It is not even a choice.
It's not a question of choice or looking for something cheaper. You know, I have to compete as an industry. I have to compete with my competitors in other states. So if some other state is giving a subsidy, always, you know, people in this state will look forward to a subsidy
Absolutely.
of similar kind.
No, ma'am, your question is, your argument is very valid in terms of industries, and I will leave it for the industry bodies to take this up.
The point which I was trying to tell Keka is that we have to take it up with the state of West Bengal. You remember, we used to come out with advertisements, you know, in the newspaper as far as the power crisis was concerned, and it made a great impact.
Right.
Now, from the chamber point of view, I think this is a very, very important issue. I mean, from the point that the Calcutta is most vulnerable as far as the climate is concerned, I think on that I would like to have a few notes so that, you know, we can come out with some notes or some advertisements in the newspaper as to how Calcuttans are suffering, how the industry in West Bengal will suffer, how the people of the West Bengal will suffer, unless you don't allow solar energy or whatever subsidy. As far as the residence is concerned, I just wanted to check that most of the cities, I find that they have the solar power on top of their roof. I don't know whether it is you need a permission for that or you don't need a permission.
The permission more than that, what he was just saying, that
Yeah.
net metering thing, because in other states people are doing it, because when you are creating an excess energy more than you are consuming in your home, you are sending it back to the grid. So from your regular meter of consumption, you are getting a deduction on that. And if you are creating excess solar energy on top of your home use, you are getting a like buyback, or you can get a credit, or you are getting something in a monetary way. So that actually is one of the incentive which is driving that in other parts. And here, as we don't have a clarity on these things and how to get the net metering and how the citizen will benefit, like what madam put out is very valid. Like with the community benefit, there is always a vested individual benefit is of everyone's concern. So once these two combines, it becomes easy. Because like I work in some of the forest areas, and in Maharashtra, as they have given a complete clearance, so most of the resorts, even the forest department in most of their areas.
Can we, sir, I would
using-
understand your point because this is a very serious issue.
Yeah.
Can we have a small note on what you are saying, because we would
Yeah.
like to take this up very seriously with the state government.
I would
because,
love to do that. Sir.
If you can help us
Yeah.
out in a little bit of that. And Keka, I think we should take this matter very seriously.
Yes, sir. Just to
Yes,
share
yes,
some
yes.
more information, like at one point of time, Ganga Sagar used to have two hotels, which were top class hotels, and they used to run on solar energy. But later on, when the Ganga Sagar became a tourist hotspot, the government has come up with several hotels, and the usage of solar energy has totally gone.
Yeah, so there is a big opportunity. There is so much roof space which is available on in our institutions, all schools, colleges, all of these things. Now, see, we are teaching the students in their books that climate change is there and this thing, and their whole building is running on fossil fuel. I think all of this space is available. Schools run in the daytime. Their energy consumption is has to be much more lower. If you design the school building in a certain way, the energy consumption will much be lower. There are schools which are in India which are run 100% on solar. Professor Solanki built a school 15 years ago in a village, and that school has no electricity consumption since the beginning. Their entire school just runs on solar. There's no requirement on this thing. Madhya Pradesh government, we signed an MOU with the Energy Swaraj Foundation and the government of Madhya Pradesh to turn approximately 44 technical institutions to give up electricity connections and run 100% on solar. And who will do it? The students will do it. The students will be trained. They will set up their own solar panels. They will manage it, and they will run the institutions, and they will move 100% on solar. And this is all possible within this thing. So the technical capabilities are there. It is a matter of will.
Sir, so Ajay ji, since you have dedicated your life on this environment issue, I think the chamber would be greatly benefited, and I think Calcutta would like to benefit the people of West Bengal as to how we can take this matter forward, and take it very seriously. So if you can help us out in this matter as to prepare a note and what kind of something catchy, we want to come out in publication, something very catchy, so that it catches the eyes of not only of the citizens, it catches the eyes of the government also, because there has to be a pressure on the government. That we need this. I mean, we need to do this. I mean, I'm very happy.
I will share that, sir, note with you. I had done a
note, sir, is all right, but I want. If there is an argument, I have to meet that argument.
there is all data. There is everything is there.
Yeah.
So there are.
And so I need to meet that argument.
Definitely,
Otherwise, because every time I'll be questioned, and I have to meet that argument. I think Keka, if we can get in touch with Ajay ji and the other.
Now University of Calcutta and many of the colleges, they are adapting to solar, like Baligan Science College campus.
Okay, that's great.
Joe, thanks so much, Mr. Mittal. I'm very happy. I'm David. I'm Ligui. I'm come from France. I'm doing a world tour on a solar bike for the last 6 years. So I'm very happy about. So I'm here to promote Solar Itoto. So I work with HLIM, Don Bosco School. The kids got educated. Now they do. They have a training to make bicycle, but how to make e-kit and also how to make solar e-kit. Because like you said, there's so much sun here. So you're right, and so I want to make a complementary information about this from University of Calcutta that at COP28 was agreed to eliminate toxic subsidy or inefficient subsidy to fossil fuel, and in India it's about $340 billion per year, and that's you can check COP28 agreement 28H is called eliminate inefficient subsidy to fossil fuel. So your government has made a big commitment. And it's a big accomplishment. Every country has committed to that. And you have the fourth biggest toxic subsidy to fossil fuel. So this money can be redirected today. It's not by 2030, it's now. So, and you have also, your government has agreed to give 40% subsidies up to 3 kilowatt and after 20%. So if you combine this with net metering and you have twice more sun than France, that's really easy, you know? And I don't see where is the problem. And also, we are now talking about a financial mechanism. What can we do to make it easy, transparent, faster, and more accessible to everyone? And that's really what Chamber of Commerce can help. You know, that it's very clear and very easy to get this money.
So I think we can now, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It was in 2000 when Webreda has come here. And the solar energy, the gentleman who has been working on this, the solar energy, I knew him very well. I used to call him on my school's functions. The first solar energy in 2002, it was near Science City when they have taken a park and all sorts of things were shown on that. And one more thing, that since then, the solar energy's knowledge was there in West Bengal. But WBSEB and CES is under state government's portfolio, right? And whatever the bills are coming, we cannot argue on that. The residentials houses, if they start producing their own solars by keeping that on the rooftop and then selling it back, then a huge amount of loss will be there to the state. This is one of the functioning. Like none of the state would like to go in for loss, and at least the state where few problems are there, obviously they would not like, because I know in my building there are 3 meters and in one floor 22,000 rupees a bill comes for 1 meter. The second may be 8,000, the third may be 9,000. So, and this is from long time, maybe 10 years, and unable to argue with the WESEV. So these are the things where the monopoly is there. The second thing is about CO2. I would like to say a few things about that. In China, we should follow China. What China is doing, they are collecting all the carbon dioxide in a plant and making diamonds out of that. I think Mr. Mittal must be knowing about it. So why not the central government takes care of that, and at least to those places where it can be done, they should adopt this.
I really don't know about.
So I'll just quickly make a comment on the carbon capture, ma'am. The carbon capture technologies is not reliable as of now. We don't know if tomorrow there is something which comes up and it can bring us out of the crisis. But today it is not. And I would like to say is that whenever I look at climate solutions, I have developed an analogy, which I say that if you walk into the washroom, the tap is open, the bucket is full, water is flowing. What do? Do you close the tap or you start wiping the floor?
No,
Most of
close
the
the tap.
solutions that we talk about is just wiping the floor, which is what carbon capture is. It will not solve the problem. We have to slow down the tap. We have to stop the tap. Otherwise, we cannot solve this crisis.
Yeah, that is also true.
But tell me
yes,
something, ma'am.
we
You
can
said
try
that-
on
You
that.
said that, they are not allowing solar on the houses, but number of states, a number of cities, this solar is put on the houses.
Yeah, because they have come with a pact with the central government, but we haven't.
No,
how
ma'am. The
can it be
problem
central
is,
government?
sir, I'm telling you, the problem is that a lot of the other states have multiple power companies, and all of these power companies have now started to integrate solar as per the mandate. So, suppose my XYZ company is providing power to my this thing. I can write to them and I can tell them that I want to install solar and I want net metering. They will come and change my meter. And say suppose my capacity and my consumption is about 300 units per month. I installed a certain capacity and it generates about 200 units a month, or some months it generates 150 units, whatever is that. I just pay the balance amount of money every month. What is generated of the solar is going this thing. It's my investment once in a time. It gets eliminated from my bill. I just pay the balance part. That is how the net metering thing works. Now, as ma'am was also saying that West Bengal, if you see on data, pays one of the highest tariff in India. Apart from Maharashtra and West Bengal, I think are the highest tariffs. If you look at other states, the tariff is about close to 6 rupees or something per unit. We almost pay about 8-9 rupees per unit cost. So that's 1.5 times what
9 rupees, 8.98.
what we should be paying. So definitely this state, there is a big potential for solar there, provided there is a ease of adoption. Otherwise this will not scale up.
I think here we could just place them that whatever energy with the solar, if we are producing, we will give it free to the state. We will not charge anything. We can give it free to the state.
Actually, net metering is allowed in Bengal also. We have installed solar.
That's what I'm saying. It is allowed, but the
Yes.
way to do it is so
it is,
difficult.
It is time taking and
Exactly.
cumbersome.
That is why it is
but
not
we
picking
got
up.
it. We got the net metering done. In one of the buildings here, and only the balance, consumption
Yes, sir.
is charged.
So, sir, by technical this thing, you cannot do 100% net metering because that is not possible. You can go up to a certain percentage, 80%, 90% capacity you can install. The problem is the ease of doing it. No one can spend, like you as an institution could write to someone and influence it to get it done. As a common household, he will not spend his months to just get a net metering done. It has to be made easy. It should be as simple as ordering something from Urban Clap. You should be able to do a few clicks and be able to install solar at your homes. And that is possible technically.
So we would like to know what are the hindrances in having solar energy in your house, what the regulations and what it needs to be done, what it is in other states, so that people can install solar energy in their house, and
Sure,
this is
sir.
the necessity. So we can have something very some advertisement on newspaper and some notes. We have to take this issue very seriously.
Thank you, sir. I will definitely send you through.
Lataji wanted to ask something. Give her a mic, please.
One question, Ajay.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your take on the usage of water plastic bottles?
So,
He uses the steel bottles. देखा मैं भी मेरा carry करती हूँ, but I'm just asking.
no, I think this is another request from my side is that see these bottles that we use maybe for 1 minute or something, none of this get recycled, and आप 6 महीना पुराना पानी पी रहे हो, क्या फायदा? आपको लग रहा है this is going to help you? This water is dead. पानी एक ऐसी चीज है जो 2 दिन में बासी हो जाता है. आप 6 महीना पुराना पानी क्यों पीते हो? मत पियो. So there is no need for this thing. We can eliminate these kind of plastic bottles 100% from our this thing. I didn't want to call out these things because we are all in a learning curve. I'm sure that from next events, Bharat Chamber of Commerce will adopt it as a policy that they will not this thing order. किसी को पानी पीना होगा वो जाएगा पानी पिएगा. 2 मिनट पानी अगर कोई नहीं पिएगा तो मर नहीं जाएगा. पर ये ऐसे पानी पीते रहेंगे तो डेफिनेटली मर जाएंगे.
It's been interesting. Any other question? Again?
Ma'am,
If
there
you
is
are-
a question there.
No, no.
Ma'am, there's
We
one
have to
question.
finish
from-
also. Yeah. Because we have to ask.
I just want to know for my knowledge that is there any study that reports about the carbon emission that is being generated in the production of solar panels?
So ma'am, anything that we do will have some resultant emissions, and that is very true. So this also I learned from Professor Solanki. He said that when we install solar also, we have to be very careful. So he says that the first rule of solar energy is don't use solar energy. And he is a professor from IIT Bombay. He did a PhD and is known as the solar man of India. So the philosophy he has developed is called AMG, which is avoid, minimize, and generate. So by research, he has found out that 30% of approximately our consumption can be just avoided by certain changes we can avoid. And this is valid for lifestyle, it is valid for industries and everywhere. There is so much of wastage that happens at every level that we can eliminate. Next 30% can be improved through efficiency. There are so much efficient devices. Now example, the fans that we use in our homes, they're all 70-watt fans mostly. Now a technology has come which is called BLDC, which is 28 watts. So if you look at our institutions which are running for say 10 hours daily, the amount of consumption that is happening, if you replace all the fans immediately with in your institutions, you will have better returns than mutual funds. I can bet you that calculation. Because you will be saving so much of electricity. You will have better returns. Don't do it for environment, but do it for financial reasons. Convert all your fans to BLDC, you will be saving a lot of money. Because 70 watt to 28 watt. There are similarly a lot of technology which has come, which can improve your efficiency and eliminate another 30%. Now that 30% which is left, you can easily generate on solar. There is no problem in terms of the roof space then, because your consumption has gone down. You have less requirement in this thing. So you can definitely be more this thing. So if we approach any solution with the same mindset, we will be creating 2 more problems like we have done earlier.
And anything for air conditioner, sir, like this? What you
Air
have
conditioner also, sir, if you see the inverter technology and this thing, if you look at the stars, in fact, I have been drafting a petition which I want to do in public interest, where I'm saying is that this BEE, which is the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, should eliminate these stars. And there has to be a way that in every 3 years, as technology progresses, they should phase out the previous old inefficient technology, and they should not allow the this thing. The 2-star AC, this thing, to 5-star AC, a lot of people, they think that the upfront cost is high, so they go for a 2-star or 3-star AC. The amount of energy consumption that happens costs not only them paying more, but also to the planet. So this kind of inefficient technology should be eliminated. Like in the automobile sector, if you see, the pollution norms was changed drastically, and the court has to issue an order that all these vehicles from a particular date will be phased out. And I think that is one of the things which needs to be done. I'm drafting one petition on this thing, which I will file to ensure that all of these things happen, because we will be able to save a lot of our energy moving into this efficient technologies which already exist.
The thing which is there in people's mind is like even solar needs mining. Like our fossil fuel need mining, solar also needs mining. So if there is a if you or anyone can help us with a presentation that how moving towards solar helps in that also, like whether there is an advantage or not, because people who are going against it, because one of the worst thing to read in the last few days is IUCN has now declared the mangrove as a complete fragile ecosystem. So ecosystem wise, the number of ecosystem we have in India, of the one which is closest to us, like for Calcutta, is the Sundarbans, and it's now being termed as a critical endangered ecosystem. Till now we were hearing about animals and plants about being critically endangered or endangered. Sundarban is now being declared as a critical endangered system. So that is most probably one of the biggest threat to Calcutta, that how we are on the top of the list of being the most vulnerable cities on the 2070 list. So I think this is another thing which, as a community from Calcutta, for our insurance, like we pay LIC or anything, Calcutta should adopt a strategy to how we can support to ensure the sustainability of Sundarban so that we can avoid our vulnerability. Because I was looking at your page also that you went to Sundarbans for the mangrove plantation and regeneration thing. So that's another thing which is really for us from the climate aspect, for our ecological resilience, it is really an important thing that we look towards it.
My compliments to you, Ajay ji, for dedicating your life towards the environment. A small query I had. The Earth's poles are shifting. This comes in the way of the Earth's geomagnetic field, which aids navigation for migratory animals. May we have your comments if there is any environmental impact for this phenomena?
Yes, sir. So that little that I have read about these things, they're saying that because this of this magnetic activity which is there, it affects the currents, and the heat wave activity is also increasing because of this same reasons. So when we talk about heat wave, there are many reasons for the heat wave to be there. One of the reasons is that if the air is stagnant, then the heat waves happen. The impact of heat waves is more. If the air is moving, if it is flowing, then the heat wave activity will not be much. So one of the reasons why Kolkata is very, very vulnerable, and Kolkata is one of the fastest warming city globally. This is a research which is conducted and they found out. And one of the reasons they found is an impact called urban heat island effect. Now what is this is that we have built so much of infrastructure in this city. The amount of open space and green space in this city is one of the least. Kolkata lost about 30% of its green cover in about last decade itself. The open space in this city is the least. The traffic space in this city is the least. Now what happens is that there is no place for air to circulate, and the heat gets trapped in this air. And that is because of this, the average temperature, what is there, the feel like humidity or the exact temperature which is there is much, much higher in the urban environment than it is just you move outside this thing. The temperature might be same there, but the impact locally for us is much, much higher.
That is
because
what
the air circulation is not there.
Feel factor.
It's not just the feel factor, it's actual temperature within the local
No, the
scenario.
temperature is 40, but the feeling is of
Yes.
50 degrees. That's what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. please.
Request now state to actually deliver a vote of thanks.
Hello. Mr. Ajay Mittal, Mr. Khetan, Mrs. Shah, members of the committee, members of the Ladies Forum, guests and friends. It is my most pleasant duty to move a hearty vote of thanks to our guest-in-chief, Mr. Ajay Mittal, for sparing some of his valuable time today to address us and sharing his perspective on climate change and its impact. As all of us have gathered here today to celebrate World Environment Day and remind ourselves of the importance of protecting and cherishing our planet, let us start reflecting on the impact our actions have on the environment and to commit to making positive changes. In the words of Tolstoy, one of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. My thanks are due to the members and guests for attending today's talk. With these words, I request you all to join me in carrying a hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Mittal with an appreciative applause.
May I now request our President, Mr. N.G. Khetan, and our Senior Vice President, Mr. Naresh Pachesia, to kindly hand over the memento to Mr. Ajay Mittal, our speaker of the day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We conclude our talk over here. May I now request all of you to join us for some refreshments.